We've got some bombshell reporting around Seahawks cornerback Riq Woolen. I went in and I made a short. I posted a tweet about what I thought about the latest ESPN Jeremy Fowler report. And then things got all kinds of interesting. We're going to get into that here on today's show, so make sure you don't go anywhere. So ESPN went in and they released their rankings for the top 2026 NFL free agents because, hey, the 2025 season's still going on, but we got to make sure that we're looking forward, looking ahead to some players that it doesn't look like they're going to be re-signing with their teams. And lo and behold, everyone shouldn't be shocked by this, but there was a certain Seahawk that appeared on this report. And that, of course, is by Jeremy Fowler. Here's the quote. Expect Riq Woolen to be available. He spelled it wrong, not me. I asked if I should fix it. I was told not to. Expect Woolen to hit and be available during free agency as opposed to re-signing with Seattle, which hasn't been a scheme fit for him under head coach Mike Macdonald. But for teams that need man coverage help, he has tremendous upside. I saw the article. I read the quote. Had to reread it a couple times because Jeremy Fowler, he had a spelling error. And then I tweeted this. I said that no one should be shocked that Riq Woolen isn't expected to re-sign in Seattle. He doesn't fit the scheme, and that's okay. You got to get the most out of him while you can. To be honest with you, when I had this take, it felt kind of normal. It felt like a take that most people would have when it comes to a corner that is good enough to still be on your roster right now, but does not fit in the long-term plans of this franchise. Riq Woolen needs to be in a man scheme system. His best ability is his athleticism. He's freakishly fast and freakishly tall. Guess what Mike Macdonald wants? He wants zone corners. So Riq Woolen doesn't fit into the scheme. Let him move on, and that will be okay. I'm going to tell you why all you-know-what kind of hit the fan, but before I do, did I assess the Riq Woolen situation fairly? Did I assess it correctly? Let me know down below in the comments. Yes, I'm fair to Riq Woolen. No, I'm not, because maybe you disagree. Then, when all S hit the fan, at least here at Chat Sports HQ, was when this happened. That's Tyreek Woolen, or Riq Woolen. That's his real Twitter, and he liked my post. So clearly, he agreed with me. Clearly, Riq Woolen looked at my tweet and said, that is a fair assessment by Will. It is not too much. It is not too little. I'm not taking a shot at Riq Woolen. At the same time, I'm understanding that he would fit somewhere else better. And this sucks because I like Riq Woolen. I think he's a very good player for your Seattle Seahawks. Now, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. It hasn't been unicorn kisses for all of us here in Seattle. But there has been at least a little bit of a wave, or at least a clear mindset from both sides that it's going to be a mutual breakup. It's going to be easy. It's a good breakup. It's like when you and your high school girlfriend decided to go to different colleges and you knew you couldn't do long distance. The last 4 seasons for Riq Woolen, man, that first year he was unbelievable in Pete Carroll's system. He was clearly pushing towards one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. He was clearly pushing towards being an elite player. He was a Pro Bowler. And then each year it's gone down and down and down for his production. And even last year, while the interception numbers might have bounced up from the year before, you can tell just by the tackling numbers, by the pass breakup numbers, that Riq Woolen doesn't fit in what Mike Macdonald wants to do. There's a clear dip in his production. No, I'm not saying that he's a bad cornerback. In fact, I might be saying the opposite as this video keeps going through, because I'm going to tell you why he shouldn't have been traded. But I will say this, he is not going to be used to the maximum of his ability in Seattle if you continue to use him in this zone scheme. But here's the thing, Mike Macdonald isn't going anywhere. He runs a zone scheme, and he's got more pull, more sway than Riq Woolen. So guess what? That means Riq Woolen has to leave. Now, there was a lot of talk around the Seahawks and on the trade deadline. Should Seattle have traded Riq Woolen? I got to a point where if you're a fan of Seahawks today, if you hung out at the channel, watched a lot of our videos, you know that early on I said, yeah, you should trade Riq Woolen. And then as we got closer and closer to the deadline, you shouldn't trade Riq Woolen. Why is that? Because you didn't have the depth to afford to lose him. Yeah, Derion Kendrick has been fine. Yeah, Nehemiah Pritchett has been fine. They're not better than Riq Woolen. So in my eyes, yeah, you hold on to him, you keep him, and you let him walk in free agency, and it just kind of is what it is. You can't always get a better return for a player. Let me know. Do you agree with me? Should you have traded Riq Woolen, or should the Seahawks have traded Riq Woolen at the deadline? Type T for trade, and if you think we should have kept him, type K for keep. Obviously, John Schneider did try to trade Riq Woolen. There were multiple reports throughout the National Football League. ESPN had reports, NFL Network had reports, CBS had reports, Fox had reports. Shoot, probably even CNN had reports that the Seahawks were trying to trade Riq Woolen. And it all kind of hit the fan when Ian Rappaport went out and tweeted this end of September, beginning of October. And that was, hey, Devon Witherspoon is returning to the team on Thursday. Expect Riq Woolen to be a possible trade target at the deadline. His playing time has diminished, and he's in a contract year, so a lot of teams expect him to be available. Which that made sense at the time. He should have been available. But then a couple of things happened. And when I mean a couple of things, I mean a couple of injuries to two players that play, well, the same position as Riq Woolen. Josh Jobe had a concussion, and Devon Witherspoon, as we all know from watching this season, he might have returned to the team for that Week 4 game against the Cardinals, but then he didn't really play for about another month because of his knee injury. During that time frame, you needed to have Riq Woolen. He kept everything down pat. He helped allow this team and allow this cornerback room to really gel together. He gave them the ability to test Nehemiah Pritchett on the outside, to test Derion Kendrick in the slot at that nickel spot that previously Devon Witherspoon had been. He gave them stability. He was a steady ship in a rocking sea. So of course you had to keep him. But it doesn't make sense for him to stay here because he doesn't fit into your long-term plans. That said, I still think it's going to be very useful to the Seahawks on keeping him because I think he can be a big difference maker on this potential title run that you're about to go on. I'm going to get into that here in just a moment, but of course, I got to let you know about my good friends over at PrizePicks, the sponsor of today's video. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections. If your picks are right, you could cash in. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. PrizePicks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones are overhyped? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. I have a little 3-pick power play for this weekend's action. JSN more on his rush plus receiving TDs. Matthew Stafford less on his pass yards. Sam Darnold, our guy, more on his pass yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. So, at the beginning of the year, there was obviously some issues with Riq Woolen. I'm thinking specifically of the San Francisco 49ers game, where not only does he give up the game-winning touchdown, but he gave up a big catch to Ricky Pearsall that led to that game-winning touchdown. That said, ever since that game, I have seen Riq Woolen get better and better and better every single game for your Seattle Seahawks. If you look through what he has done this season, especially the last 3 to 4 games, the tackling numbers are increasing. Obviously, he doesn't have an interception on the year, but I feel like he's in more chances. He's got more opportunities to go for interceptions, trying to keep a couple of them. Now, he did miss a game, wasn't able to go for the entire year, but his pass breaks ups are increasing. He is just becoming a more complete player in this defense. And now, after scripting out this entire show and getting ready for today, I kind of had this realization. How did we get here? Because you had a player in Riq Woolen that if I told you 4 years ago you are going to be talking about trading him at the end of his contract, I would have said you were crazy. You would have told me I was crazy. Everyone would have said that we were crazy. Yet because of the change in head coach, Pete Carroll leaving and bringing in Mike Macdonald, Riq Woolen just isn't a scheme fit. He doesn't play the way that Mike Macdonald wants his corners to play. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. That doesn't mean that he's going to go and be a backup somewhere else. I see a lot of people saying, hey, Riq Woolen should just get cut. That's ridiculous. He's still the second best corner on your team. And he's going to go and play in a system after he tests the water in free agency where he can really find a spot for himself to flourish. And honestly, that makes me excited for him. It makes me happy because I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good player. I think he works hard. And he deserves to be somewhere where he's going to be happy. But we should enjoy him while we can. He's not going anywhere this season. He's a major part of what your defense is going to be moving forward. He's a key cog in the engine that is this Seahawks defense. And so I'm going to continue to enjoy him. But I am going to miss him. Hopefully he does go on Twitter and ends up following me because I'll keep posting a lot of Riq Woolen propaganda for him, even if he's not with the Seahawks, just because I like him. I like him as a player, and it's clear that he cares about the product that he puts out on the field. Make sure that you follow me on social media, at Will Ortner on Twitter and on Instagram, constantly posting about your favorite Team 12s. You do not want to miss out on any of the content that I have there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you guys a little bit later.